Today, we're students from the University of Santo Tomas, College of Commerce and Business Administration, and we'll be tackling the topic if the Philippines does need an education reform. I'm Maria Carmella Cabarles.
I'm Miguel Boquiren.
I'm Byronn Cheng.
I'm Dañas.
And I'm Maria Fatima Cabaces.
So, first things first. As a third world country, does the Philippines really need an education reform right now and in the current state that we are in?
For me right now, it would hinder our country because there's enough problems we are tackling right now, like the drugs, and especially our president. Having a lot of issues right now. So for me, not it would this idea would not be good right now for our country.
I would oppose you on that because, for example, if in your house you had a dysfunctional bulb, would you buy another house or would you fix the bulb first? And of course, you'd go for the second option, right? So I think that before we start doing such ravenous things such as the drug war, we should educate people first, and that is by having a good education system.
It will also help the progress of our country. And of course, to people to have widened their knowledge.
For me, I think this educational reform will affect all of us in not only the primary, secondary, and college, but also the employees and the teachers that will teach.
For me, because this education reform is a good idea for the long term, but how many years? Like, because it would affect us as students like right now as college students, because we're currently studying, and it will affect the short term. It would be a great impact to colleges and some schools that can't afford or have the budget to change their curriculum or have an education reform.
I think, yeah, you do have a point in that, but as of now, I would speak on behalf of my high school that we did have a problem regarding finances of involving K to 12 in the school, and I've been an alumni for 2 years, I think, yeah, and so far they're doing good, although the tuition boosted from 25,000 to 30 so quickly, and I think next year they'll be having it at 32. I think that some are really trying hard, although it's a bit a bit pricey to go for K-12.
So, for me, I would be the middle of you guys. With yes and no.
Literally.
Yeah. Because there's a saying that you don't have to fix something if it's not broken. So, why change an entire education system if you can just take the weaknesses out of that system? So, for me, that since we have a very big problem in our budgeting, why don't we focus first on saving up for the education system before we implement it, so that public schools can have time to adjust, and not only the private schools, because we can see that the private schools don't have any problem with the K to 12. It's mostly the public schools, because they have to build more classrooms, they have to hire more teachers, and I don't think that we don't need an education reform. We don't need an education reform right now. All we can do is just fix it. Yeah.
But this new system, K to 12, it has advantages that it can empower students to be more competitive globally, not only here in the Philippines but for international as well.
I would agree with you because the K to 12 program will have the more classes, more courses about the other different different
Curriculum.
curriculum and for colleges.
I would disagree on you both because if it, I believe in the saying that it's not if it's for example if that this educational reform came from the America or Europe, it doesn't mean if it's good to them it's good for us also as the Philippines in the Philippines because we're different from them and um, it will have a great impact on uh, the education and the schools itself, the faculties especially, and the administration. It will the funds. You said earlier that it would be pricey because not all students can afford and not all families can afford an education that is costly to them. Um, there's they can if they can afford they would only afford their needs but not their wants and they can pursue their dreams if education is hindered and the price is hindered.
I think that it won't really focus on European and American teachings, but being the one of the countries that export human resource, one of the top countries that export human resource, I think that we do need to be globally competitive. And of course, it would focus much, if not entirely, it would focus much on American and European studies because those two are like the most powerful continents as of now. I mean, going back, yes, they are, but until now, they still are. You know, knowing that Queen Elizabeth is still alive and well.
In addition to that, I think investing in education will support the long run and it will help the national growth development for the Philippines.
So as an independent country, we shouldn't rely too much on their programs. We have our own programs, but we should incorporate some of their programs, like the Americans, which we believe is the highest. What do you call it? They have the best quality of education right now. So I don't think that we should really embrace their system. Um, as we Filipinos, like they consider us good English speakers because it's our second language. But most of us Filipinos are having a hard time with their grammar. So I think that we should fix that so that we'll we'll have we'll have good we'll be better at speaking English. And yeah, they were talking about Maricar was talking about us being the highest uh, exporter of human resources. So I think we should trust um, in terms of education, we should trust our professors in giving us students the skills we need in order to perform our job in the future. So yeah, which we should also rely on the Filipino education system.
I think we are actually doing well in developing our education system because back in first year we had this research paper on how the government financed our education system through the Department of Education, and it shot up from 2% of the because in 2014 they used 2% of the GDP for the DepEd, but in 2015 it went from 2 to 19%, and that was the same year that K-12 was implemented. And I think they are doing a good job in K-12 because as of now my sister's learning so many languages that I didn't even know of. She knows Nihongo, Mandarin, and right now she's Cantonese and Phuket. And that's a good start, in high school. Because if you start early in life, learning languages, that's like gonna be a huge advantage for you in your early adult years.
Oh.
So I think that we've reached an agreement that we do need an education reform in the Philippines and that it would help us to be more globally competitive in the global scene